Hello everyone, welcome to the Clinical Knowledge. Today we will discuss about chronic obstructive pulmonary disease (COPD). Its overview, definition, etiology, sign and symptoms, laboratory investigations, treatment, and its prognosis. Definition: chronic obstructive pulmonary disease is an inflammatory respiratory disease usually caused by exposure to tobacco smoke. It is characterized by the presence of airflow limitation that is not fully reversible. Etiology: tobacco exposure, occupational exposure to pulmonary toxin, example dust, noxious gases, vapors, fumes, cadmium, coal, and silica. The industries with the highest exposure risk are plastic, leather, rubber, and textile. Atmospheric pollution, alpha-1 antitrypsin deficiency, rare, that is greater than 1% of COPD patients. Signs and symptoms. Patients with COPD have classically subdivided in two major groups based on their appearance. First, blue glotters are patients with chronic bronchitis. The name is derived from the blue string of the skin as a result of chronic hypoxemia and hypercapnia and from the frequent presence of peripheral edema from corpse nail. Chronic cough with production of large amount of sputum is characteristic. Second, pink puffers are patients with emphysema. They have a hectic appearance but pink skin color. Adequate oxygen saturation, shortness breath is manifested by pursed lip breathing and use of accessory muscles of respiration. COPD may present with combination of the following manifestations: cyanosis, chronic cough, usually productive but may be intermittent and may be unproductive; trachopnea, tachycardia; dyspnea, persistent, progresses; pursed lip breathing with use of accessory muscles for respiration, decreased breath sounds, wheezing; chronic sputum production; chest wall abnormalities, hyperinflation, barrel chest, protruding abdomen; flattening of diaphragm. Acute exuberance of COPD is mainly a clinical diagnosis and generally manifests with worsening dyspnea, increase in sputum prevalence, and increase in sputum volume. But respiratory system status not reliable indicator of the presence of airflow obstruction. Individuals with normal spirometry values may report respiratory symptoms, whereas individuals who have severe to very severe airflow obstruction by spirometry may report no symptoms. Systematic manifestations and comorbidities of COPD. Cardiovascular include infection, arrhythmia, congestive heart failure, aortic aneurysm. Hypercoagulability include stroke, pulmonary embolism, deep vein thrombosis, atrophy. Systemic include weight loss, osteoporosis, skin wrinkling, anemia, fluid retention. Lung cancer includes depression. Laboratory investigations (CBC) generally not helpful, may reveal leukocytes with left shift during acute exuberation. Recent trials have shown that eosinophilia in COPD patients predict response to corticosteroids. Sputum may be purine with bacterial respiratory tract infection. Sputum staining and cultures are usually reserved for cases refractory to antibiotic therapy. Arterial blood gases. Norcapnia, mild to moderate hypoxemia may be present. ABGS and pulse oximetry are usually used to determine if a patient is a candidate for long-term oxygen therapy or if hypercapnia is present. Spirometry pulmonary function testing with measurement of forced vital capacity and forced expiratory volume in 1S. Spirometry should be obtained to diagnose airflow obstruction in clinically stable patients with respiratory symptoms. It should not be used to screen for airflow obstruction in individuals without respiratory symptoms. Spirometry reveals that the primary physiologic abnormalities in COPD is an accelerated decline in FEV1 from the normal rate in adults greater than 30 years of approximately 30 ml per year to nearly 60 ml per year. PFT results in COPD reveals and fits reducing in FEV1 in patient with emphysema. Normal diffusing capacity and reduced FEV1 are found in patient with chronic bronchitis. Chest X-ray, hyperinflation with flattened diaphragm, tenting of the diaphragm at the rib, and increased retrosternal chest space, decreased vascular marking and bullae in patient with emphysema, thickened bronchial marking and enlarged right side of the heart in patient with chronic bronchitis. Treatment, non-pharmacological therapy, avoidance of tobacco and elimination of air pollutants, supplemental oxygen usually through a face mask to ensure oxygen saturation greater than 90% as measured by the pulse oximetry. Continuous oxygen therapy should be prescribed for patients with COPD who have arterial partial pressure of oxygen 55 mmHg or less or oxygen saturation 88% or less as measured by the pulse oximetry. Pulmonary clearing, careful nasotracheal suction is indicated only in patients with excessive secretions and an inability to expectorate. Mechanical percussion of the chest as applied by a physical or respiratory therapy is ineffective with acute exacerbation of COPD. Pulmonary rehabilitations should be considered in COPD patients who remain symptomatic despite optimal medical management. Medicare will cover up to 36 sessions of pulmonary rehabilitation in COPD patients, weight loss in obese patients. Pharmacologic treatment. Bronchodilators improve symptoms, quality of life, and exercise tolerance and decrease indication of exuberation. Inhaled bronchodilators may be used for stable COPD patients with respiratory symptoms and FEV1 between 60% and 80% are predicted. They are recommended for stable COPD patients with respiratory symptoms and FEV1 that is less than 60% are predicted. Recent guidelines from ACT, ACCP, ATS, and ERS recommend that clinicians prescribe monotherapy using either long-acting inhaled anticholinergic or long-acting inhaled beta agonist for symptomatic patients with COPD and FEV1 that is less than 60% are predicted. Clinicians should base the choice of specific monotherapy on patient preference, cost, and adverse effect profile. Short-acting beta-2 agonist, example albuterol, meter-dose inhaler 1 to 2 puffs for Q2 per 6 hours, or short-acting anticholinergic agent, example ipratropium inhaler 2 puffs, which are acceptable in patients with mild variable symptoms. Anticholinergics are also inhaled agents are preferred in patients with mild to moderate or continuous symptoms. Tiotropium is an excellent long-acting bronchodilator. It is very effective for long-term, once-a-day use. It has been shown to be superior to salmeterol, an inhaled long-acting beta agonist, LABA in patients with moderate to severe COPD. Addition of inhaled steroid fluticasone, budesonide, triamcinolone is used to reduce exacerbation in patients with moderate to severe OPD. Roflumilast is a selective oral PDE4 inhibitor useful to reduce the risk of COPD exacerbation in patients with severe COPD associated with chronic bronchitis and a history of exacerbation. It is not a bronchodilator and is not indicated for the relief of acute bronchospasm. Recent guidelines from American College of Physicians, American College of Chest Physicians, American Thoracic Society and European Respiratory Society suggest that clinicians may administer combination inhaled therapies for symptomatic patients with stable COPD and FEV1 that is less than 60% predicted. They also recommend that clinicians should prescribe pulmonary rehabilitation for symptomatic patients with an FEV1 that is less than 50% predicted and continuous oxygen therapy in patients with COPD who have resting hypoxemia, POA that is less than 55 mmHg or SpO2 that is less than 88%. Acute exacerbation of COPD can be treated with aerosolized beta-2 agonist, example metroprotanol, nebulizer solution 5%, 0.3 ml or albuterol nebulized 5% solution 2.5 to 5 mg. Anticholinergic agent which have equivalent efficiency to inhaled beta-adrenergic agonist, inhalant solution of ipratropium bromide 0.5 mg can be administered every 4 to 8 hours. Short course of systemic corticosteroid have been shown to improve spirometric and clinical outcomes. Treatment failure occurs less often in patients who receive low-dose steroids than in those receiving high-dose parenteral steroid. Oral prednisone 40 mg per day for 5 to 14 days is generally effective. Courses of treatment that are extended for greater than 14 days confer no added benefit and increase the risk of adverse events. Recent trials, too, have shown that if patients with acute COPD exacerbations, systemic glucocorticoid treatment for 5 days is not inferior to treatment for 14 days. Use of non-invasive positive pressure ventilation decrease the risk of endotracheal intubation and decrease intensive care unit admission rates. Contraindication to its use are uncooperative patient, decreased level of consciousness, hemodynamic instability, inadequate mask fit, and severe respiratory acidosis. Increased airway pressure can be delivered by using inspiratory positive airway pressure, continuous positive airway pressure, or bilevel positive airway pressure, which combines the other modalities. IV aminophylline administration is controversial and generally not recommended. When used in patients with refractory symptoms, serum level should be closely monitored. Keep level 8 to 12 mcg per ml to minimize the risk of tachyarrhythmias. Prognosis. After the initial episode of respiratory failure, 5-year survival is approximately 25%. Development of cor pulmonale or hypercapnia and persistent tachycardia are poor prognostic indicator. Thank you.